Everyone. In this session, I would like to discuss about how to connect with MySQL by using Node.js. In MySQL, I have one table. From Node.js, I want to insert some data inside table. So first here, if you observe, there has MySQL database should require your machine. That means you should have to install. The next one, you should have to create the node application. In my last session, I already discussed about how to create the node application. This is my node application already created. Let's concentrate on MySQL. Now you can download the mysql.exe file from Google. That is like a open source, so that there is no need to pay any amount. So you can download mysql.exe file. That is one way. I prefer jump software, XAMPP. Okay, this is the jump software. Just you can install this jump, then you can get it MySQL by default. So if you want to get this jump, just open Google, just type XAMPP download. From here, this is the official website. From this website, directly you can download the jump based on your requirement. It's like 64 or 32. Like this, you can download and install. Once you install that particular software folder, you can find in your C drive like this. In your C drive, just double click on the C drive, jump folder. Just click on this jump control. If you click on this one, then the time you can see one panel like this. Here, see the MySQL is there. My MySQL is running on one server, that is Apache. So that make sure run your Apache first and then run your MySQL. Run your MySQL like this you can. Now once you run this one, both are turned to be a green, then you can confirm like yes, MySQL also running and Apache server also running. So wait for some time. Here also my MySQL is running on one port number 3306 is the port number. Once you see this window with green color, just click on the admin button now. If I click on the admin, then in your browser, it opens on URL localhost php myadmin. Now, if I click on this one, say this localhost php myadmin. Now, here it's like a GUI, graphical user interface for your MySQL database. Inside this MySQL database server, these many databases already I created. For us, I want to create one more database so that new, just you can create like test is my database. See here, test is my database. Just create this one. My test database created. See here. Inside the test database, create one table. My table name is like student or user is my table, which contains how many columns you decide. 4 columns, for example. Just click on go. Now, here, 4 columns you mentioned, each and every column name and its length I want. Okay, the first one is like a ID. It's a auto incremented. I want to make it like a primary key. Just click on auto increment a_I checkbox. Click on go. And then you can write like name, and then you can write like roll number. It's like a user, right? Okay, user ID and password, you can take it. This is my user ID and this is my password. And then here, this is my address. My user ID text is like varchar, how much you want me to give the length, you can give it. Password is like varchar, how much you want me to give, you can give it. Okay, this is address also varchar, you can give it. Now done. If I click on save, yes, my database created and my table also created or not. Okay, just ignore this one. Now see, if I click on test, inside the test that has on user table is there or not. Now come to our node application. I already created this node application. If you want, you can check my previous session. Now I want to write some piece of code which you want to connect with your database. So that just write one file I want to create in the routes folder. I want to create one file inside the routes folder. Just you can write like users is there, right? Already users folder is there. Just you can use this file, otherwise you can use this one, no problem at all. Now here you can write one API call. These all are like API calls, you can say REST API calls. See this in the app.js, My application is running with this localhost 2020 is my application path. Inside this application, users and index.js route files are running. The users file path, I want to check it. See this, inside this, the users file path is like a users. Inside this users, I want to write one more endpoint to insert the data inside my MySQL database. So that how we can write means router dot I want to insert the data. Okay, how we can insert the data? If you want to insert the data, which request method you want me to use? Post method. If you want to insert the new record, put method. Already record is there. If you want to update, you can use like a put method. If you want to delete one record already existing records, then you can go with the delete. If you want to retrieve all the records from the table, then you can go with the get method. Based on your operation, you can decide which request method you want me to use. I want to insert the new record in my users table so that my record the request method is like a post. After that, you can give one path. My path name is like just register user like this. After that, it's take one more argument. It's like a callback function. It's take three parameters or arguments. One is like request, another one is like response, another one is like next. Now see, my post method inside the router, my router is coming from the express. This method takes two arguments. One is like your API call path, another one is like your callback function. Okay, this callback function again take like multiple arguments, three arguments it is going to take. This is my request. Request for what? The data which is coming from client to server, that data is coming as part of request, so that if you want to retrieve the data from the request object is required. Okay, response is nothing but my server has to send the response back to my client. By using response object only we can send it. Next, we can use for authentication purpose, like okay, JW token. If you want to maintain it's like a valid user or not, if you want to check, then that we can use like a next. In this about this one I will tell in the next session. JWT, just hold for some time, just concentrate on this one. Now here, now this is my server side point. If anybody want to hit this one, so how we can means just write response dot. I want to send response dot send off. Okay, what is this one? Register user endpoint call. Okay, now this is my response. So that just save this one. Now anybody want to hit this particular function, hit this particular callback, what is the URL? See this. First, my request has to come to my node application. Where my node application is running? My node application is running on HTTP localhost 2020. Here it's running 2020. Inside this application, which file you want me to hit? If you observe here, I want to hit the users, so that my users already registered within the app.js with which path, users path or not. So that this is my users path. Inside the users path, okay, inside the users path is nothing but users file. See, user router is nothing but users file. Inside the users file, which path you want me to use, okay, this path or not, to hit this particular function. So anybody want to hit this particular function, okay, this is the URL, you have to use it or not. So this is my URL. My method is like what? My method is like a post method. Okay, this URL and method you have to give to my client side person. The client side person, by using this URL and method, by using Ajax technique, he can send a request to this particular server. So here there is no client, nothing. So that just use some of the tools to hit this particular API calls like advanced REST client or Postman. I will explain about those also. Now this is my URL and this is my method. So that if anybody hit this particular URL with this method, that particular guy has to get this particular response. So that save it. Now come here. Now see, my application is running or not? My application is not running. We run this application. How we can run? Node app. Which file has to run means my app is the root file. This file has to run. How we can run one JS file means by using node command. From where we can get the node command means from my node software. Once you install node software, you can get this node command. So if I click on this one, yes. Now see, my node application is running. So if you want to test this particular API call post method, then you can use one of the tool called as a advanced REST client. It's not a tool, you can say like an app for the Google Chrome. Now see this. I have a separate video is there for this particular how to use advanced REST client and Postman. Okay, you can check. You can go through that video. Now see which method you want me to post method. The next one, what is the URL? This is my URL. This is the URL. This is my URL. Now if I click on send, now see this my response. Register user endpoint hold. Yes or no? So that yes, my endpoint is working with this URL with this method or not. Now come to our requirement here. Which type of code you want me to write? Which type of code you want me to write? Means I want to insert some data in my MySQL. So that which data you want me to insert? How much data you want me to insert? By seeing this particular table, you can understand like I want the user ID and password and address, so that I want the data from my client three fields. One is like request dot body, request dot body dot user ID I want, user ID I want, request dot body I want password, request dot body I want address. These three fields I want. Okay, just you can store somewhere. This is my user ID, this is my password, and this is my address. Again I'm telling, see this, through request my client is going to send the data to my server. How many ways my client can send the data through request? Four ways are there. One is like request body like this, another one is like query parameters with question mark as part of URL, another one is like by using path parameters, another one is like headers. Okay, those four ways we can send the data to the server. So that is like a separate discussion. Okay, separate video is there, you can go through that one. Here I am expecting the data through request body. Once I have the data, I want to connect with MySQL. So how we can connect with the MySQL? First of all, you should have to install MySQL library. So open one more terminal, open your package.json. See here, MySQL library is not there. So can we install that MySQL library? How we can install? npm install mysql hyphen save, mysql hyphen save. While running this command, your internet should be enabled. Why? Because this library we are getting from cloud to your application. Okay, just wait. Now once you get this one, once you have this data, after that you have to connect with the database. See, the first thing is take data from request. The next one, connect with DB, connect with database. The next one, perform some operation, and then send response back to client, back to client. These are the operations has to perform in my server endpoint. So if you come here in the package.json, see my MySQL loaded. So can we get the MySQL here? Import it. Where MySQL equals to require is like ES6 below. To import your libraries, we are going to use this method require MySQL. Once you have the MySQL, now come here. You have to connect with the MySQL. Inside MySQL library, there has one method is there. Create connection is the method which take one object as an object as an argument. Here he is asking about where my MySQL server is running, that server related information, where it is running. It's running in my local host. So that local host you can write it. The next one, which port number it is running. Default port number 3306. The next one, what is my user? Jump, my jump server, my SQL username is like root. What is my password? My password I didn't give. Okay, this is my empty. Okay, the next one is like database. Already I created one database, right? I created one database. What is my database name? Test is my database. So that the test database we can put it. Yeah. Now this information you provided about your MySQL server. Is this information is correct or not? Okay, yeah, you provided some information, but I'm not sure this information is correct or not. So that can we check? Can we check? Can we connect once with this information? How I can connect means by create connection returns me one connection object. Okay, with that connection object, we can try to connect with the database with this information. Once you are trying to connect, it is trying to connect with this information. How much time it will take? I don't know. How much time it will take? I don't know. So that my connect method asks you like one callback function. Whenever my task is nothing but connecting with this information to my MySQL, once my task is completed, they provide you some information like some error messages. Another one is like some success message. Okay, if error is there, is nothing but what? If the error is there, you can say like yes, whatever the information is there, that information With that information, I'm trying to connect with the MySQL server, but I'm not able to connect. So that we can give the response like what? DB connection error, like this DB connection error. If this particular one connection error is not there, that means what? Yes, that means my connection established successfully with this information to my MySQL server or not. Once my connection is established, then that what we have to do, you have to insert this particular data in my table or not. So in MySQL, if you want to insert some data, how we can insert? Through queries or not. It's a structured query language. So write your query. My query equals to, if you don't know about the query, simply go to here. This is my table. This is my table. Just insert. Not like this. SQL. Click on the SQL. Ignore all. Some of just click on these users. Just click on these users. Okay, structure SQL. Okay, see this insert. Insert. This is my query. Insert into user. Just use that one. Just use this one. No problem at all. Directly you can use it. Now do required changes. What changes you want me to do? This insert into user. Okay, ID is not required. Why? Because it's like auto implemented. I already placed the ID not required. I want to place user ID, password, and address values. From here, you have to place. So I want to concat. I want to concat my data with this particular. Okay, open and close here. Close here. See, I want to place first username. Okay, user ID is like you. Okay, I assigned with what that this particular user ID I assigned to my you. So that here you can put it my u P and A, you have to place forward user ID and password and address. So my user ID and password address, if you observe, all are like varchar data types only. All are like varchar data types only. Say this. All are like varchar data types only. If varchar data, if you want to insert, that data should be enclosed with single quote, okay, or double quote. Outside is like double quote, so that it will place like a single quote. So that this is my username plus, okay, close your single quote, comma, open your single quote plus the next one is like what? Password, and close your single quote, comma, open your single quote plus the address. This is the one, and then close your plus close your single quote here also. Close your single quote. Now, if you observe here, something is wrong. No problem at all. Say this is the single quote and this is the single quote close for this particular view. Okay, this is the open one. This is the closed one for this one. Okay, this is the open one and this one is the closed one. This is for this. So finally, you have to keep this one like this. My query ready. So once my query ready, this query has to execute or not. How you can execute means this query has to execute on my connection object. Why? Because this object only, right? Already established the connection with this information, so that you have to execute that query. Connection dot query is the method. Which query you want me to execute? This one. How much time it will take? I don't know. This query executed successfully or it's like failed while executing that query. I don't know. So that they ask like one more callback. They provided you like error and success response. You can say by writing some conditions. If error is there, you can send my response like what? Response dot send off that particular error, you can send it. Otherwise, else that is not, there is nothing but what? It's a success only. Response dot send off your success. Like this, you can do it. Now save. Now if I save this one, see my new changes, not push into your node server. Not push into your node server. Why? Because you run your application by using node. So if you run your application by using node, each and every change you have to restart your server. Every time you have to restart. So that instead of that one, you can start your server by using node mon. It's also working like same like node only, but the difference is if you made any changes, that changes is going to push into server every time. There is no need to restart again. Auto refresh, auto reload is happened. For example, if you made some change, see this auto reload happened or not. For every save, auto reload is going to happen. My application is going to run. So node you can get it. Node you can get it from node software. How you can get the node mon means my node mon is not a software. If you want to get the node mon, just run this command in your machine. Npm install -g node mon. In your command prompt, you have to run this. You have to run this one. Npm install -g node mon. Once you run this one, my node mon is available. Then that time you can use it. Node mon, yeah. Now come here. Once my endpoint is ready, I want to send the request. Already I used advanced REST client to send the request. Now you have to pass the data, right? The data you have to pass through body with these keys or not. Through request body. Through body, if you want to pass the data type is like an object, and my object keys are like these keys. UID, PWD, add is the keys. So that come here, I want to send some data through request body. See this here, body is there, right? Click on the body. Okay, here you can pass the data. Which data you want me to pass? Body is nothing but in the object format. What are the keys? UID is one key. The next one is like WD one key, and my ADD is one key. These keys should match here. Why? Because should match here. Why? Because you are retrieving the data, the same keys, right? With which keys you are retrieving the data from the object, the same keys you have to use inside the object or not. So if I click on this one, say this, affected rows, inserted ID is like one. Inserted ID is like one, affected rows are like one. If you go to your database and go to your table, now you have, if you observe here, say this, my data inserted or not, my data inserted within my test database user table or not. Okay, if you want one more record, just you can. My username is like u1 bts is my user, password also like bts only, and my location is like hyd is my location. So if I click on send, one more request go to the server. See, my affected rows are like one row affected, that means one row inserted. Now you go here, if I refresh my page, now see this, that has one more record inserted or not. This is the way you can insert the data. You can connect with MySQL database by using Node.js. Thanks guys. Thanks for watching.